I recently dove into Star Wars Outlaws, an open-world adventure set in the expansive Star Wars universe. After spending days exploring its world and unraveling its story on the PS5, I'm here to give you the lowdown on whether it's worth your time. As a passionate gamer who works for a gaming studio myself, I'll break it down from my own perspective. Does it captivate? Is it fun to play? And ultimately, does it earn a place in your collection? The narrative in Star Wars Outlaws is one of its strongest aspects. As someone who loves story-driven games, I found myself genuinely invested in the plot, particularly in Kay's character and the different factions you encounter. The moral balancing act of deciding who to please and who to annoy adds a dynamic layer of strategy. It deepens the Star Wars universe beyond the usual Jedi versus Sith. The factions introduce a variety of alien races, making the world feel more alive and expansive. I appreciate that the game takes you into corners of Star Wars lore that aren't typically explored, helping you immerse further into its story. On the downside, the travelling system is frustrating and feels like a drag. The speedster you ride on is clunky and the camera work is erratic. It's a typical Ubisoft move to pad out gameplay time with fetch quests, but in Outlaws, the travel time between objectives feels unnecessarily long and tedious. Sure, you can engage in some fun moments like shooting bandits off their bikes and watch them hurtling and crash into rocks, but this becomes repetitive and annoying pretty quick. Combat-wise, I was also equally underwhelmed. It has a very good Grand Theft Auto 5 feel to it, and that's disappointing considering the more fluid cinematic combat we've seen in other Star Wars titles like Jedi Fallen Order. You only get one blaster, and even with the upgrades, the combat feels dated and lackluster. The AI doesn't offer much of a challenge either, which makes most combat encounters feeling flat. Star Wars Outlaws runs poorly on the PS5, which is surprising. On SSD, you'd expect much quicker load times and smoother transitions, but the game suffers from pop-ins, low poly assets, and some serious performance hiccup. I even had the unfortunate experience of falling through the floor at one point, which shouldn't be happening in a AAA title. Navigating the map and quests is also a janky process too. The menu system feels slow, and you find yourself constantly flip-flapping between the map and the journal, which becomes a chore. It's especially irritating when you have to keep refreshing the navigation to find your next objective. Ubisoft really could have streamlined this, perhaps by adopting a system similar to Destiny 2's. Objectives should be more accessible and not interrupt the flow of gameplay as much as this. On the plus side, the progression system is rich, but almost overwhelming. There's a ton to unlock, from blasters to speeder upgrades, as well as abilities tied to different factions and experts. Customization options are plentiful, allowing you to tweak everything from clothes to tools. However, the sheer amount of options makes you second guess your choices, and it's hard to know if you're unlocking what's beneficial or just wasting resources. Visually, the game is a mixed bag. While the cutscenes are impressive, they're marred by graphical issues like pop-ins and performance hitches, which break immersion. Hair animations are poorly done, and I found myself distracted by how bad they actually looked, which pulled me out of the story during important cutscenes. For a game that tries to immerse you in a visually rich universe, these flaws are quite disappointing. Despite its flaws, the game does have a certain pull. I was hooked enough by the storyline and character dynamics to push through the more tedious aspects. Pleasing or annoying factions add an interesting layer to how the story unfolds, and customization options allow you to experiment with different builds. But given the technical issues and repetitive nature of the quests, it's hard to say if this has a long-lasting replayability. Overall, Star Wars Outlaws offers a solid story and interesting faction dynamics that expand on the Star Wars universe in a fresh way. However, it's held back by clunky mechanics, repetitive quests, underwhelming combat, and technical issues that break immersion. Ubisoft's signature fetch quest pad out the game unnecessarily, and the travel system feels like a chore rather than a fun adventure. The game has potential, but in its current state, it falls short of what a Star Wars game should be on the next-gen console like the PS5. If you're a die-hard Star Wars fan, the story might carry you through, but the gameplay leaves much to be desired. As always, I'm here to give you the real deal. I'm not about hyping up brands or games just because they're big names. I provide honest, straightforward reviews focused on performance, entertainment, and value. Most of us are gaming on a budget, right? So every dollar pound, or credit counts. Whether it's a top tier release or an affordable title, I approach every game with fairness and transparency. With Star Wars Outlaws, I've highlighted both the good and the frustrating, giving you a full picture. It's a game with potential, but it comes with drawbacks. You need to know before you commit. Personally, I'm going to give Outlaws a nerd rating of 3.5 out of 5. It's worth picking up, but maybe wait for a sale or until a few updates smooth out the rough edges. If you have any questions or want to share your thoughts, drop them in the comments below. Let's keep the conversation going. If you've enjoyed unfiltered and honest reviews, don't forget to subscribe for more gaming insights. Until next time, this is the Gaming Nerd signing off. Thanks for watching.